Hello everyone and welcome back to the zoo. As always, I'm Reckless and today we have an exciting build for you today. This is our first multi-species habitat that we're going to be doing here. This is made possible by the new Sandbox features, allowing animal happiness to be adjustable as well as elimination of predation and fear. So in this habitat, we are going to be mixing a number of species that are found together in the wild, but in the normal metrics of the game wouldn't be allowed to be together. So first and foremost, we had to come in here and shape our terrain. Now this proved to be a bit of a challenge until I came up with the idea of just chunking it out with the block tool that you're seeing here. By just shifting the terrain down this heavily with the terrain flatten tool, it takes absolutely ages. The tool is very slow and cumbersome, so this is the most efficient way I found of doing it, was to take chunks out of the terrain with the block tool and then to come in with the flatten terrain tool to add this kind of rocky stipling effect to the edge of the cliffside. In the middle of the two habitats here, our Gemsbach desert habitat and what will be our wetlands habitat that we're building today, I wanted to build an iconic African site, which is Mount Kilimanjaro. So if you look on the map, Mount Kilimanjaro is located in Tanzania, and this is in our scale of Africa map of the zoo here. This is kind of where Tanzania would be in the world anyhow, so I figured it would be a cool little thing to add to the zoo for visuals, but also just to kind of add some landmarks to our Africa section that are iconic to the region, right? So as you can see here, I reversed the terrain blocking tool, and this time I used it to fill in the gaps of the mountain. Again, any of the normal terrain tools are very slow, so when you're trying to fill in large gaps or take away large gaps, it takes absolutely ages. So I found that the terrain tool, be it the block, is the most efficient way to fill in large spaces as well as take them away. So I messed around with the snow here, based on Google images of Mount Kilimanjaro. You know, it's a super high mountain in Africa. I don't know the exact specs. You'll have to look that up if you're interested in it. But basically, all the pictures I saw of Mount Kilimanjaro were similar to Mount Fuji, in where it has this ring of Mount Fuji in Japan. It has this ring of fog and cloud layer, and then the mountain like protrudes out from above that, and that's kind of what I wanted to recreate here. So I'm using the huge mist makers that are in the game to create kind of a cloud ring. I think it turned out okay. It only really renders when you're right up close to the mountain, so you're not going to see it very often, but I still like the way it turned out. So in construction of our wetlands habitat here, I wanted another kind of feature, and I figured another natural site in Africa is Victoria Falls. Sadly, Victoria Falls is currently experiencing drought. You can blame climate change or whatever you folk may believe in, but the falls have been running dry in the last while. So I wanted to kind of immortalize Victoria Falls, which is one of the largest, if not the largest, waterfall in Africa. I apologize for not doing my research on it, but basically, there's hundreds and hundreds of people taking videos, like chilling in the pools overhanging Victoria Falls and stuff like that. It's an Instagrammer's dream kind of thing, right? But either way, it's just a massive waterfall. I believe it's in Botswana, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just fact check myself here. Zimbabwe. Victoria Falls. Yes, Falls in the Zambezi River at the border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. Okay. So it's not quite at the location of where ours is on the map, but I mean, I can't get all these places accurately placed on the map. It just doesn't fit with the habitats we build, right? But basically, where the desert oasis is in our Gemsbok habitat is essentially the location of Zambia and Zimbabwe where Victoria Falls is. So this is not too far off from that. I basically wanted to create this wetlands area in this section of the park, not only to include the animals of this region, but to kind of create a water feature where the giant lakes of Africa are, being Lake Victoria, Lake Malawi, and Lake Tanganyika. The position of this wetlands is essentially where Lake Victoria is. If you're not familiar with these lakes, they're extremely biodiverse lakes in Central Africa, and my favorite species of fish, the African cichlid, comes from, I'm not sure if species is the right word, I'm sure it is, but the African cichlids are super colorful and extremely, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, diverse in their color schemes, right? There's different African cichlids of all different colors. They're absolutely gorgeous fish. I kept them for a time myself in a massive aquarium at my last condo that I had. Unfortunately, when I relocated my residence, I didn't have a space long enough for the tank, so I rehomed them. But I recommend Googling African cichlids. They're the most amazing fish, and if you are a fish keeper, I definitely recommend them as pets. So either way, they're located in these three giant freshwater lakes in Africa, be it Lake Malawi, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Victoria. And Lake Victoria is essentially in this kind of area of Africa that we're building in right here. So I wanted a little bit of a water feature. I figured this was a perfect place to place our wetlands habitat. So in this exhibit, in this habitat, we've included the hippopotamus, the African buffalo, the greater flamingo, just as a traveling guest, if you will, as well as the African wild dogs or painted dogs. So I created a little cave, you'll see in a minute here, to house the wild dogs and put the predator food tray, the meat food station, if you will, outside of there to kind of incentivize them to hang around that area. Basically, it's opposite the falls on the back wall. And then I put the herbivore feeders in this section that you see me decorating here, and you'll see me place them in a minute. But basically, I just wanted to create like a habitat like you would find in the wild, right? The African painted dogs are native to this region, and they do hunt in and amongst the wetlands as part of their hunting range, right? Obviously, they stretch into more than one area of Africa, but I figured this was a good place to showcase them. All in all, the animals get along really well, again, with the settings that they've provided us with in Sandbox mode. They don't fight at all, right? You'll see it in some of the cinematic shots. They're walking in and amongst each other, right? Like there's a wild dog walking right beside a water buffalo and stuff like that. It's super cool how it works out. And you know, while they might not be right beside each other in the wild, they'll still be in the same area, you know, like drinking from the same watering holes and whatnot. So I really like that they added this function. One thing that I've opened a ticket about on Frontier's webpage, and I would really encourage you guys to do the same though, is they added these awesome functionalities to Sandbox mode, but they overlooked, I don't know if they overlooked is the right word, but the protesters right? So the way it stands now is you can adjust the settings so that your animals are always happy, right? But some of their stats are still registering in the eyes of protesters. So, like, for example, if I have more animals in a habitat than their normal range allows, protesters show up. And I'm talking thousands of protesters. I had an overage of mandrills and an overage of Nile monitors in the park, and all of a sudden I'm building this habitat that you see here, and all of a sudden my game just starts lagging like crazy, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I started to look around the park, and around the Nile monitor habitat, it was absolutely chock full, packed with protesters. I'm talking thousands of these protesters, and it was just bringing my game to a standstill. And I mean, if they're going to allow us to, you know, create sandbox parks with you know, like, what am I trying to say here, like not abiding by the animals' needs and stuff like that. Like, I'm not trying to like make it a bad environment for my animals, but like, I want more than like 6 animals in like a massive habitat, you know what I mean? But the protesters show up, and it just absolutely clogs the game up. So I've opened up a ticket for that, and I would encourage you guys to also do the same in order to get this fixed, so Sandbox can be a little bit more enjoyable, give us that true Sandbox feel as to where we can kind of do what we want in our parks, right? Because ultimately that's the attraction of Sandbox, in my opinion anyhow. I hope you guys agree with that. But yeah, if you guys have been tuned in to Frontier's Twitter or Instagram feeds, you'll notice that they have announced the next patch, as well as the game's first paid DLC, being the Arctic Pack. So as of December 17th, there will be a free patch to everyone that adjusts a number of issues in the game, and basically adds more functionality to all game modes. And alongside that, there will be a new paid DLC that introduces a number of new animals, 4 to be exact. So they are calling this the Arctic Pack for Planet Zoo, and it is a paid DLC, which I know some people are not too keen on, right? I mean, it's been a month and they're implementing a new DLC, and some people are up in arms, you know, but honestly, like, I don't really see it as a big deal. Could they have included it in the base game? Yes. But I mean, it's a business, right? You don't gotta buy it, right? At the end of the day, if you don't find value in it, you don't have to buy it, right? But I will be picking this up. It's $10 for 4 animals and 200 new building pieces. Right, so being that it's an Arctic pack, it includes ice rocks, snow-covered rocks and trees, ice sculptures, and then the theming of the pack, they say, is very Scandinavian. So I'm in my eyes, I'm picturing like Viking, the picture of the show Vikings, right, with all the wood carvings and all that sort of stuff. So 200 pieces, including foliage, scenery, building pieces, right? I mean, that and the animals, for me, is well worth $10 in my opinion, right? So I'll be picking that up and showcasing the animals to all of you guys. The new animals that we are going to have are the polar bear, the reindeer, the Arctic wolf, and the Dall sheep, right? So polar bear, I'm super excited for. The Arctic wolf is obviously just going to be a reskin of the timber wolf. I'm a little bit upset about that. I would have loved to have like a moose or like a muskox or something, being that it's in the Arctic, but I'm hoping this is just the beginning of the animals they roll out. Perhaps they might even roll out some free ones later on down the road. Frontier has been known to give lots of free packs and stuff, right? So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, the Arctic wolf, reindeer, Dall sheep, and polar bear. The Dall sheep is essentially a bighorn sheep, but of the Arctic region. So the big curled horns, right? They bat their heads together in mating displays. Super cool animal. I can't wait to see the animations for them and stuff like that. It should be super sweet. I'm gonna struggle trying to figure out where to put them in this park. We might just do like a one-off build in one of the new maps or something like that. But we'll have to wait and see. The reindeer, I got a cool idea for how to do the reindeer. So either way, we'll add them into our park, lickety-split. Some people on the forums already are basically having a debate as to whether, oh, no, it's not a reindeer, it's a caribou, and no, it's not a caribou, it's a reindeer. So just to clear this up, basically the way it works is that a caribou is wild, and a reindeer is domesticated. Forgive me if I swap those, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is, right? So that's why Santa Claus has reindeer, right, not caribou. But either way, the animal is what pulls his sleigh, if you're keen on that. So I'm excited to have a deer. Reindeer are part of the deer family, obviously, right? So I mean, up until now, we've only had antelope, right? We don't actually have any deer, and North America is ripe with different deer species, right? So you have white-tailed deer, mule deer, just a lot in general, right? So the fact that we're finally getting some representation in game is a fantastic jump. So as of December 17th, keep an eye out for some content here on the channel in regards to the Arctic DLC. You will see lots of that on this channel, I can promise you that, and any DLCs that come into the future. At this point in the video, if you are enjoying it, please do hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and everything else that you do here on YouTube to show your support for the channel and show your support for the videos. I love all you guys tuning in and watching and commenting. As always, I read all your comments and I do my best to reply to everyone. If you have any suggestions, please do leave it down in the comments below, and feel free to join our Discord. I'll link it in the channel below. Our Discord's all up and running, so feel free to join there, share your pictures, share your own parks, and get some inspiration for your own builds. But other than that, I'll leave you guys here with the end of the video and some nice cinematic shots. Feel free to tune in to the next few videos, especially as the new DLC comes out in a few days. Other than that, I am Reckless, and thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day, and bye-bye.